Tukola no Sam Wendy.
Mwah.
Now we can go to broadcasting house. We can go to broadcasting house. To our area logo.
House.
Jene jawen logo.
Atwakowa.
Farida nakazibu yabawandikidde.
Okay.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. Since I'm Frederick, I'll respond on behalf of Chibedi. I hope.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, my namesake. Allow me to do what the Fredericks do by welcoming each and every single one of you to our meeting this very morning. I will not hesitate to join the voices of the very many to welcome our colleagues and comrades that went to Naivasha. But in a special way, I want to once again welcome and appreciate the daybreakers that represented us. But more than that, allow me to draw your attention to the commencement of our meeting this morning. Thank you very much for joining us for fun and fellowship as usual. I will request none other than our Sergeant at Arms, Stephen Wax, to journey us through the lineup of our colleagues that will journey us through the Rotary norms. Over to you, Stephen Wax.
Thank you, President. Good morning, Rotarians, Rotaractors, and friends of Rotary. Our lineup is as follows. We have a formidable team. For the grace will be led by Rotarian Jane Opito. For the loyal toast will be led by Rotarian CPA Esther Kakuba. For the forward test will be led by Rotarian Mbeiza. The Rotary information is for all. Introduction of the guest speaker will be by Rotarian Patience Musime. For the interaction, it will be by AG Dr. James Onyoy. Vote of thanks will be by Rotarian Jimmy Ogwal. Statistics by Rotarian Stephen Wakasenza, myself. And for the final toss will be by CMP Adriano Mutiawa. Without any further ado, Lieutenant Jen, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Sergeant at Arms. Good morning, fellow Rotarians. The grace. Oh Lord, who knows our need, help us fulfill our Rotary creed. We live to serve you every day in all we think or do or say. Accept our prayers for this day as we are mindful of everyone's need. Restore, forgive, inspire, and heal. This we pray. Amen.
Amen. Bishop Jane.
Wanjisevu.
Yes, Rotarian Esther, please give us the loyal toast.
Okay. Good morning, Rotarians, Retractors, and guests. Let us toast to the President of the Republic of Uganda.
His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, and those that will succeed him.
I will invite us to remain silent and invite our beloved Rotarian Taki Mbeiza to give us the forward test.
Good morning, all Rotarians. Test on call. The forward test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very, very much, Rotarian Taki Mbeiza. PO, I've received your request that we should rewind the forward test, but in the interest of time, I'm not able to. Allow me for once to say no and turn down your request. But colleagues and comrades, those that have just joined us, allow me to voice them. Allow me voice the gratitude of the daybreakers to welcome you. But it is at this time that we would wish to share in together with our Rotary information. So should you have Rotary information, you're more than welcome to do so the usual way. Raise your hand, we'll give you space to voice your Rotary information. But better still, we also accommodate Vachiga. You can dive straight into the Rotary information. Over to you, friends.
President, I don't know whether this is the Bachiga way or the Basoga way, but allow me to announce the installation of the 17th president of Rotary Club of Sunrise, which is due to take place on Tuesday, the 3rd of May this year. It is going to be a normal fellowship event at Rosaho, starting at 6:45 until if the function is cleared. It can go up to midday, but at least 6:45 is the beginning of the function. You are most welcome. The cards go for 50,000, but the purpose of the function and the card, the main function is to make sure that we fundraise for our projects. So feel free to pay for a card, even in the unlikely event that you may not attend due to other obligations. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much, AGE Mukuru Wechika David Semakula, and certainly so, we'll be glad and grateful to dine with the Sunrisers as we witness the installation of your 17th president. Friends, should you have more Rotary information, you're welcome to raise your hand or go or dive straight into it and share with us in the remaining 2 minutes.
They only want a Bezos number.
Okay, there being no more Rotary information for us to share in. Friends, I would like to join the rest of the world, but more so the rest of Rotarians, to really identify with the families of the colleagues that left the face of this world. It is such a dark time. We continue to identify and condole with the families. I would like to request that we observe a moment of silence for all our departed Rotarians that have left us in the couple of days that have passed us. So a minute for a moment of silence, colleagues. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Yes, Amen. Friends, once again, it's a great honor and joy to have each and every single one of you with us. This very day, we are super blessed to have a very interesting guest speaker to talk to us about a very interesting topic. It is now my pleasure to invite you, Rotarian Patience Musime, to kindly introduce to us our guest speaker for today. Over to you, Rotarian Patience.
Thank you, President. Good morning once again to our Rotarians, our guests and friends of Rotary. This morning, we are privileged to have a guest speaker. He's Mr. Zach Kisesi. He is a CFA charter holder and a member of the CFA Society East Africa. He heads the CFA program at Mat Abacus. His day-to-day work entails him working with the portfolio management team on a strategic level, as well as working with corporate clients in the pension sector to ensure that their investment portfolios are well managed in line with their various investment policy statements. Mr. Kisesi is also heads the Agents Retail Unit Trust business, and he's here to speak to us about investments. Mr. Kisesi, you're welcome to speak to the Rotarians that are available today. Thank you.
Oh,
excellent.
Thank you so much, Rotarian. Okay. Hello, I just want to confirm that everyone can hear me clearly and audibly before I proceed.
I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. So allow me to share my screen. I don't know whether you're able to see my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Is it the one which is talking about why investment matters for the working class?
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
So
thank
fantastic.
you. Thank you so much for that introduction. It was quite extensive. I was so excited when I was approached to speak to the members of this Rotary Club about investments for the working class. This is a pertinent topic to me because all of us here, of course, have jobs. So we are working, we have a source of income, which income is expected to take care of our standards of living, pay school fees, take us through school, pay for our elders who are in hospitals, and so on and so forth. So yes, we have that source of income, which gives us some kind of certainty about the future. But the question becomes, why should we go into investments despite the fact that we have a very good, steady source of income? Why is it important for us to invest even if we feel we are comfortably earning more than we actually need to survive? I am earning 10 million, I'm earning 15, I'm earning 20. Surely I have 10 years ahead of me, I have 15 years ahead of me. Why is it important for me to think about investments now, even if I'm earning either more than what I need, or I'm earning less and I hope to work harder and probably earn more? So I'll skip this slide because I've already been introduced, but I'll just simply say I'm in the industry of investing money for a variety of people. Who are the people we're talking about? We're talking about individuals, we're talking about pension schemes, we're talking about private companies, we're talking about SACCOs, associations. Over the last 15 years, we have seen a growth in groups of people putting money together for investments. Okay, so that is the kind of industry that I'm actually employed in. So today I'll be focusing on two specific topic areas. I will be looking at money matters, and I will focus specifically on what we call cash flow. And then we shall look at diversification benefits using an investment manager. In short, we're talking about spreading your risk. Yes, so let me just say something about retirement. I don't know, there's someone whose microphone is on. I hope that that doesn't mean you can't hear me. Okay, so thank you so much. Mr. President, kindly confirm that you can still hear me so that I can confidently continue.
You're audible.
Thank you very much. So now on this slide here, we're talking about what is your retirement plan. As long as I'm a working class person, as surely as the day I got my letter, my appointment letter, is the same certainty that I have that I'm going to retire one day. But the question is, what is my retirement plan? Why are investments important now? What is my retirement plan? Now, many of us who have jobs are in the habit of collecting assets, which is a good thing. I'm buying land, I'm buying that house, I'm looking for ways to generate those assets while I am employed. Now, the question is, why is it that in retirement, about 10 years after retirement, irrespective of your standard of living or irrespective of your income, why is it that 10 years later, you find a CEO very broke, you find a CFO very broke, you find any middle income or any previously middle tier worker broke? It's very simple. It's just a business of numbers. If I'm earning 5 million shillings a month now, it means in a year, I have about 60 million that I'm going to survive on. Now, what happens is that once I retire, in order for me to maintain my standards of living, I need to have a business which generates a net profit of 60 million, not revenue, but profit of 60 million, in order for me to maintain the previous standard of living that I used to have. So what happens is that we have that 1 million shilling a month asset that we have, probably an apartment that I bought or something like that. But the challenge with that 1 million, assuming it's even net, is that it generates only 12 million a year, yet my standard of living was 60 million a year. So that means that 2 years into retirement, we now start doing what everybody in retirement does, or most people. We start now selling our assets one by one. Why? Because we are used to taking our favorite drinks, which are very expensive, going to our usual hanging out places, and we do not want to stop having that standard of living. And then what else happens? A bigger issue, health comes in, health sets in. So what we are simply trying to say is the mindset that you need to have in terms of, am I ready to retirement, or am I doing the things that get me to where I'm supposed to be, is I need to think about cash flow. It's good to think about assets, but it's even more important to ask a question: how much cash are those assets generating? That is the mindset that you have to have, meaning that collecting assets is the easy part. The hard part is using those assets to generate an income that is going to keep me productive, not only now, but probably even in retirement. So why investments are very important is simply because they help us generate cash flow so that we can maintain that standard of living. And of course, you want to have a cash flow where some of it is profit, some of it is reinvested back in business or in whichever kind of investments. And I've been talking about investments, and there are also professionals who are there who are designed to actually hold this money and actually invest it prudently. So it's also important to use professionals, even as you have that job seated and you need that money to be invested. Must I be a billionaire to invest? No, you do not have to be a billionaire to invest. For as low as 100,000, you can start your journey towards investments, and you keep on growing slowly but surely. Now, something about an inflow and an outflow. Of course, there are many accountants on the group who have different definitions of what an asset is and what a liability is. Now, for the purpose of lifestyle, or for the purpose of helping us understand this presentation, or a change in the way we look at an asset and a liability, is that anything that brings money inside your pocket is an asset. Anything that takes money out is a liability. Now, if you think about it that way, it will give you a way of changing your mindset towards whether a car you have is an asset or a liability, whether the house that you own is an asset or a liability, whether any business you have is an asset or a liability. Because if I have that house, but it's taking more money than what it's giving me, now in your mind, don't look at that as an asset. Look at it as a liability, because it's taking money out. If I have that square mile of land seated somewhere, or that acre seated somewhere, and every month I am spending money fighting with squatters, I put boundaries and they are stolen, I am always chasing. If that asset is, if that structure is taking more money than it's actually giving me, then that is a liability. But the goal is to make sure that the liability eventually turns into an asset. But at the back of your mind, think about it. How much money is entering my pocket versus how much money is leaving? And of course, there, as Robert Kiyosaki, one of these investment gurus, I'm sure many of you have heard about, just categorized as either employed or self-employed, meaning I have a job or I have a business, but that business cannot survive without me. However, all of us need to work hard to become business owners. A business owner is one whose business works without them. And when we look at an investor is someone who invests in businesses which have systems. So the focus is for us to reach retirement while being either a business owner, maybe your side business has grown to a level where it can support your standard of living, or an investor where you're invested in businesses, probably in the financial markets, which have structures, which have systems of people that are prudently investing your money. And that's what the goal is. So of course, I have to be biased in my presentation and talk about why you need a professional investment manager. Now, you see, investments is not just about reading a book, self-teaching yourself and moving on. Just like health is not about reading what to eat, what to avoid, and things like that. There are things which only a doctor can do. There are things which only a lawyer can do. Much as it's good to have a knowledge about the law, there are things which a professional lawyer can do. It's the same thing with investments, especially in the financial markets. You want to buy shares of companies, you want to buy bonds, you have to, yes, it's okay to invest in these assets on your own. However, if you get a professional investment manager, there are people who their 9-to-5 day job is, you have this money and we're going to study the markets. We know when to get in, we know when to get out. And some decisions even are split-second decisions that make a huge difference. So it's always important to have that professional who is behind the scenes doing the 9-to-5 work the same way you are doing the 9-to-5 in your profession. So these investment managers, of course, will sit down, they'll get your money, they'll look at your objectives, your risk tolerance levels. For example, what I mean is that they'll sit down with you and say, they'll make an investment plan with you. For example, you'll say, in the next 15 years, I'm planning on retiring. This is how much I plan to be earning. How can you invest my assets in such a way that at that time of retirement, I'm in position to be at this point? And that is probably in the beginning. You'll also tell them, I have a business on the side, it's doing this, and this is my expectation of where I hope to be in the future. So they sit down, they identify your objectives, your constraints. What are your constraints? I have a parent who's sick, they require such and such amount of money every month for treatment. I have children, they'll be in university by this time. So they design for you what we call an investment plan, so that you know whether you're saving enough or less for that time where your assets will be able to maintain your standard of living, because that would be very important for you, especially in retirement. And of course, they will be looking at your performance in relation to what the market offers. Now, of course, it's very good to go into the financial markets, but for example, that's where I'm specialized in, where you can invest in a variety of things, but please use an investment manager to make these decisions and also give you regular report backs, where they spread your risk, meaning they go into treasury bills, they go into fixed deposits, they go into the unit trust fund, like where I'm operating, they go into fixed income, they go into, and they spread your risk across various industries. And all this is asset allocation in relation to your risk appetite and what your goals are. And then soon you have a portfolio of diversified investments. Even if you have that side business growing, you need to have a portfolio of diversified investments so that your risk return trade-off is in balance. And of course, there are different types of asset classes. I won't go into them, but to simply tell you that there are low-risk investments, there are mid-risk investments, and then there are long-term, the high-risk investments in the long term. So what we do normally is that we shall diversify your assets across various asset classes, which will minimize the loss of capital. For example, COVID happened. Now imagine COVID happened and your business was 100% in a walk-in business. What would happen? You practically went under. But now if someone is there to guide you, a business manager or a professional, and saying you need to diversify your risk, spread it such that worst case scenario, your business can weather the storm. You know, that is the power of diversification, which a professional will help you. Why? Because I'm an accountant, I'm seated in office, I do not have time to run a business. So get professionals who are in position to make those decisions and accountable to you over time. And this diversification benefit helps you weather the storm. It helps you complement your returns and cash flow across various assets. So one of the reasons why the unit trust product is getting very, very, very popular is because someone sits in office, gives their money to an investment manager who diversifies these investments while having tax exemption benefits. Of course, I'm working in my office, I'm that accountant. Why do I need to invest? It's because retirement is coming and I want to maintain my standard of living. Even before retirement, there are needs that you have to meet. But that 60 million a year there's no way that 60 million in a year is going to be sufficient. You have to find a way to triple that income. And the only way to do it is to have a business or to be an investor. Those are the only ways. You cannot sit down and wait for a salary increase as the way you're going to make it. That is not going to happen. First of all, inflation is going to eat your money. There are going to be bank charges. There are going to be calamities that come across the way. Yesterday night, I had the unfortunate death of a very close friend of mine passing on, and this person was not yet even 50. So you see, these things happen, and we have to start having the mindset of planning for such times. So that's why you have to think about investments which are going to grow your income over time, even as you continue having that 9 to 5. So the unit trusts are becoming very popular. I think last week there was also a presenter here who talked about them. So I don't want to go into detail, but the point is there are people there who are diversifying your investments, considering the risk, your risk appetite. You're able to access your money in time, but that money there is growing on a daily basis, and that interest is compounding. And on a very conservative basis, you're seeing how 10 million can become 25 million in 5 years' time. It is very possible if you're investing money prudently. And as this money is being invested, a point reaches where the return which you're making is enough to maintain your standard of living, or you have invested your money to a point where you can now be able to withdraw it and invest in businesses where you have been able to access your, businesses which will be able to maintain your standard of living. So there are many unit trust managers there, but you can see the industry has grown in 2021 from 700 billion to 857 billion. And you're looking at an industry which 8 years ago was about 50 billion. So what we're simply trying to say is that many people are thinking about investing their money with prudent fund managers. They're investing their money because as surely as you have that job, retirement is certain. But will you be able to maintain that standard of living? It's a 10-year conversation. It's a 15-year conversation. Life is so precious that we cannot leave it up to the boss to give us that salary increase. Even the person who has that job where you are has a higher standard of living. And that's the reason why they may have problems in retirement if they just really wait for their pension package. So in conclusion, I'm saying assets are important. It's good to have assets, but more importantly, think about the cash flow those assets are generating. Secondly, diversification is important. Get to an investment manager and tell them, I want to diversify my assets such that even if the second wave of COVID comes, I weather through that storm, okay, as I plan for retirement. Use a professional investment manager whose 9 to 5 day job is following the markets to prudently invest your money. And then with a job, retirement is certain. Start accumulating assets with good cash flow. It's good to have that square mile of land. Most investment clubs I invest for, everyone is thinking of exiting into real estate. Real estate is very good, but make sure it is in line with your risk appetite as a club and your cash flow needs. So I would like to open up the floor to any questions. I will probably give the answers. And as I said before, you can always reach me. On my phone number is 782-881392. And then you can also send me an email for any questions that you might have. So Mr. President, allow me to stop here for now and to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zach Kisesi, for doing so well what the Zachs do. Friends, I know that the subject of investment, and especially talking about our future, is a subject that is so critical, so much so that sometimes it actually gets us thinking to worrying zones. Worry not. Zach and the rest of the comrades on call this morning are here to journey us through or to guide us. What could be those worries that could be lingering within our minds? So allow me right now to invite an investment specialist. We couldn't find a better person to manage our Q&A. Dr. and AG James Onywing, please guide us through the Q&A. for the next 15 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I'm really delighted to host Zach here. For those who may not know, I chair the audit committee at UAP Insurance Uganda Limited. And I'm really delighted that he's made me proud this morning. Let's now go into the questions and answer. And I think I will start from the chat. Of course, there have been some suggestions. People are saying maybe instead of eating 3 meals, you should eat 2 meals and save money and invest and all that. But I'll not go into that at the moment. But I'll start from a question from Chris, who said that, thank you, Zach, for the wonderful talk. In a bid to restrict outflows, can one avoid spending on an investment specialist and instead take lessons up and apply them? This one is talking about, I think, self-study. You can take note of that question. I'm going to read like 3 of them. I think the others is information. And please feel free to put up your hand. If you would like to voice your question, I'll give you an opportunity. But also, I wanted maybe to add 1 or 2 questions. I wanted you just to expound on 3 things. One is the consultancy aspect. This investment advisor, I know you as a certified financial analyst, you are very expensive people. I just wanted you to give an indication to members here, if you want to be advised on how to plan your retirement, how expensive is that going to be? Or when I come to UAP, you will be able to advise me and guide me without putting on very high costs, because I see people even talking of self-study. It could be they worry about the cost of certified financial analysts, sorry. The other one is the tax exemption for collective investment schemes. I would like you to give more information about how that tax exemption works and how it is more beneficial to invest in collective investment schemes compared to other types of investment, which may be more exposed to taxation. The other one, you talked about alternative channels. I would want you to give a little bit more light into what are those alternative channels. And then maybe before I give to you, there's a hand up by Robert. Robert Pade, can you voice your question?
Thank you very much, moderator. Zach, good morning. Quick question. In previous scenarios in the world, we have heard of scenarios where you have had Ponzi schemes on people's investments. How can you advise people? Because if you're looking to set up an investment for retirement, what guarantees are there in terms of security on investment, so that a person is secure that wherever they have put their money, be it in bond stocks, that they are certain that they will get a reward on their finances, and also in terms of security, how are such investments secured so that the money, whatever it's invested with certainty, is secured for, value at retirement? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I think, Zach, let's start with those, and then as we wait for other questions and hands.
Thank you so much, Mr. Auditor. I actually didn't know you were in the meeting, but but it's a good thing. Every time I attend a Rotary meeting, I've actually attended so many, and they're saying, Zach, you speak like a Rotarian. I hope that we shall take this conversation further over time. But thank you so much for this opportunity. Yes, I will just speak not necessarily in order, but I hope that I will be able to speak to to speak into a number of these questions. Now, I will speak in specifically to the working class. Okay. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that is made by the working class is to go into investments at retirement. Now, businesses are very, very complex. no matter how small they look. If you walk into Java's, for example, I'll give an example of Java's. If you look at it in terms of space, it looks a small business. In your mind, you will say, I mean, they're just waitresses here. There's a chef there. I'm sure I have a friend who went to school. He can work in the kitchen. I also have a few relatives who can be waiters and so on and so forth. But the question is, why is it that in 1 month you'll have burnt 20 million? And yet there are people who are profitable in that business which looks small, whether you're a consultant, whether it doesn't matter which kind of business. Now, I'm very happy with the question that was raised about knowledge. Why don't I read on my own? Why don't I teach myself? Please, it's a combination of both. It's a combination of both using professionals and also self-study. Because by the time you can get your hard-earned money, it would make sense if you have been touching the waters with as little money as possible as you gradually increase your investments over time with your knowledge. But now what happens is that I am, for example, I am working maybe in human resource, and after retirement, I say, let me start now, let me go to the farm and now plant cassava. Now, the truth is that cassava business has its lessons that are going to be hard-earned lessons. First of all, the weather pattern is not going to be consistent. If you've noticed, rains do not come when they were supposed to, okay? Previously, the rainy season, dry season was predictable. Now it's not. Now you've got your entire of 20% or 30% of your retirement savings you've put into this land, and guess what? In 1 season, you've lost almost 50% of your retirement money, and that is a very huge hit, and it will be very hard for you to recover. So what we are simply trying to say is this: as a professional now, where does your passion lie now? Is it in the import business? Start with 10 million shillings, bring clothes while you're working. I mean, what we're simply trying to say is that start with little money, 5 million shillings. If it is whatever your passion is, start now when you're working, but expose your income, expose that business to very little income, because if you lose 5 million, you'll have learned enough lessons for you to reinvest even with more money, but in a smarter way. So you start slowly, you keep growing, you keep increasing your risk over time, but do not go, as Warren Buffett says, do not test the depth of a river with 2 feet. Start small and grow. If, for example, maybe you are a consultant or you want to enter into consultancy, start accumulating those qualifications now, you know, slowly but surely. And by the time you are going into that business, you have the skills that will help you weather through the storms. So being in a business that you're passionate about and gradually growing. I think the reason why we have issues with Ponzi schemes is because many people, and by the way, there are many businesses that appear genuine, but actually they have a model of a Ponzi scheme. So a Ponzi scheme does not necessarily mean that you have, I mean, any good business can have a business model of a Ponzi scheme, because if you sell maybe lifestyle and it's get rich quick, you're going to sell a dream that does not exist, and people will lose so much money in a short time. Now, the challenge with Ponzi schemes is that even when people are investing their money, they invest most of their income. And guess what happens? When they go south, they're back to square one, their debts, the banks are looking for them, and so on and so forth. So the focus as a professional is, when I'm going into these investments, I must have knowledge, which is very important, but I must also expose my money to businesses gradually over time, so that even if I make a loss, it does not affect my total lifestyle. Now, when it comes to the cost, of course, my auditor colleague, Mr. James, said that he started by saying, you investment managers are very expensive. So he already put us on the back foot. But the beauty about regulated exchanges or the financial markets is that they are regulated, meaning you have regulators who are there to put rules. It's not like private businesses where you can decide how high you jump. In the beginning, especially when you're learning, go into an industry which has very stringent rules. For example, if I go to fix money in a bank, There are stringent rules there that have been set by the Bank of Uganda. In the event of a default, there's a Depositors Protection Fund. There are even regulations on who should be managing. For example, Auditor James is educated. He has that qualification. So go into industries where there's a regulation in place, even in terms of how to charge clients. For example, their management fees, but they are very low. On a net basis, for example, interest, you're still in double-digit returns. So you start from those kind of investments, where your money is going to be prudently invested, as you keep on educating yourself, as you keep on getting knowledge, till a point where you can confidently put 30% of your income in maybe one stock. But by that time, you should have developed the knowledge for you to be very sure about the decision that you're making. One of the things that I always say is that, let me just give you a child example. When you look at why is it that we pay consultation fee of 100,000 to a doctor who's going to say you're fine, yet you'd have just touched your forehead and 30 minutes later you'd say you're fine? Think about that question. Why is it that I have to pay 100,000 for a doctor to say I'm fine, yet I could have told myself the same thing? It is because the thought process towards that answer is different. With me, I'm a layman. I will touch my head, depending on how I feel. I say, I think I'm okay today, tomorrow I'm sick. But when you go to that doctor, the process he goes through to get to that conclusion is very different. He looks at your blood, he looks at, puts it under the microscope, he does a series of tests and so on. So, but even if the conclusion is the same, the process to get that conclusion is what is different. And that's where professionalism comes in. And it is worth that payment, even if it's a small fee. I know, James, you are saying it's big, but even if these fees are small, they are worth it, especially in the beginning, when you're trying to look for ways to really grow. And last but not least, someone was saying something. I think that is basically it. I hope I've answered as many as I can, unless there's one I haven't answered. But let me open the floor to more rounds of questions. Thank you.
Maybe before we open, I wanted more information on tax exemption so that people know the advantage of collective investment schemes. And then, alternative channels.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, about tax exemption, now let me give an example. Whenever you go to the bank, you're going to, I will restrict this conversation to the financial markets, because that's where my specialty is. Now, if I go and I fix money in the bank, probably 10 million shillings, of course, there's interest that I'm going to make, which is going to be determined by the bank. Negotiate, of course, here and there. After 1 year, they say you're going to get a return of 10%, whatever it is. Oh, I'm going to go to the central bank, buy a treasury bill, and you're going to see this is what the rate is, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, as the Bible says, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. So, of course, there's a tax component, because there's a withholding tax that has to be paid. So, with fixed deposits, it's 15%. Treasury bills is 20%. Long-term bonds is 10%. But whatever the tax is, it means that if I am charged 20%, it means for every 100 shillings I get, the taxman takes, in terms of interest, the taxman keeps 20 shillings. And then returned 80 shillings. So 80 shillings is actually my net, my net interest. Now, the beauty about the collective investment schemes, according to Income Tax Act, is that that withholding tax, the tax is not withheld, especially when we invest. The tax is not withheld; it's actually returned to you, which is also a benefit, because that also helps also a number of clients, because when you look at collective investment schemes, you are also looking at, for example, SACCOs and so on and so forth. So all these advantages help people put money together so that they can be able to grow. And that's why you've seen a number of groups coming together, especially SACCOs. They're coming together to invest together because of those tax advantages. Now, when we look at alternative channels is just a fancy way of saying alternative ways of doing business. In my industry, you're simply saying, apart from the normal way of doing business, what other vehicles of investments do you have? I gave an example of unit trusts, which currently are in shillings. As the industry grows, we shall be like other markets where the industry grows into multi-currency unit trusts. You're looking at alternative investments. For example, you're looking at private equity, your venture capitalists, and so on and so forth. So apart from, so alternative simply means apart from the traditional investments. That is basically what alternative does. And by the way, knowledge does not have to always be paid. There are times you can even walk in, you can call Zach, I would like you to borrow your opinion on this, and that is free of charge information. So Mr. James, we don't always charge, you know, you can even have a conversation for 2 minutes, 3 minutes on phone, which costs zero. But it's always important to pick a leaf from someone in the industry. And even if we do not know, we'll always guide you to the professional who can give you free of charge advice. And that's very important. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Zach, for those explanations. There is a question from Ida. Ida says that, Ida, I hope is a lady, as she has been investing in Bitcoins, but so far she has lost about 2 million shillings due to fraud. So she's asking how can I advise her how to successfully join a reliable Bitcoin investment. Yes, over to you, Zach.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Remember, that is the same question as someone saying, I invested 50 million in maize because my friends have warehouses of maize, they seem to be successful. Someone will say, I went to invest 100 million in fish farming, but I lost 80% of that. Don't go to that business. Now, my point is that whichever business you're going to, ask yourself, how much am I willing to lose? Now, the less knowledge you know, the more cautious you should be about how much to invest. Let me repeat that. The less knowledge you have about a business, the more cautious or the more conservative you should be in how much you should expose yourself to that business. That's why I was very happy with the question someone asked, should I self-study? If you look at even these people who would say, you're going to meet this Indian who did not go to school, but this person has a factory. I can assure you that Indian over time has taught themselves how the machines work, where to put the oil, how long the fuel lasts. You know, this is knowledge that's built over time. And by the time they start factories, they have built that capacity or that network of professionals who can run those businesses. So the question of Bitcoin is not only to Bitcoin. It is, I'm looking more at the attitude towards business. While young, you do not have knowledge in business, you know, I'm retiring, I need to have that source of income. Let me put my money, first of all, in regulated products, meaning that there are regulators there. Bitcoin is not regulated, but the financial markets in Uganda are regulated. Conservative, they will give you maybe 10%. It may not be very high, like a business where you can make 100% profit in 2 months, but as you keep teaching yourself and you keep teaching yourself, start with an amount of money you're ready to lose, and you learn over time. But don't get 100% of your income and invest in Bitcoin or any business because you have a neighbor you saw that was successful. Investments have losses, they have bitter pills to swallow. That's why you want to prudently grow over time as you keep getting the knowledge. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Auditor.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Zach, for that. I think I don't see any other big question. A lot of things that are here on the chat are basically messages of thank you. People are extremely happy about this presentation, and some are asking if we can get a copy, but I'm telling them that this discussion is live on YouTube. The very flyer that you used to enter the Zoom, at the bottom of it, there's a link to the YouTube channel. You can actually even be watching through YouTube. It is live, so it will be available immediately. So just go to YouTube. You don't have to wait for anyone to send you the presentation. It's available real time. Are there any other questions, members? I don't see any hand unless my computer is not doing me good. I don't see any hand, and I don't see any other big question. I think you've handled most of the questions. No, there is another question, follow-on question, maybe from Robert Pade of E-Club of Ntinda. Please go ahead. It is your day.
Thank you very much, moderator. Zach, Thank you so much. You've really enlightened us. But my question is, I'm just want to find out from you. Is this the kind of advice you give yourself? Can somebody consult with you? Are you affordable? Are you, just want to get a little about your profile in this particular regard.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, most of my clients now, of course, in my are in, for example, the pension sector. So, of course, I'm just giving you a wide answer because I think your question is more to yourself, but you asked for my background. So, a number of our clients are, for example, pension schemes. So, a number will invest money for a number of pension schemes in banks. Please, if at all you are here and you're an employer, I strongly advise you to move from gratuity kind of funds to pension to pension schemes, because pension schemes always protect the employees. In the event of anything, the employee is always catered for, irrespective of how irrespective of the manner in which they left the company. But that's a question for another day. So I'm in industries where the regulators are very clear on how to charge clients, so on and so forth. As low as 0.25%, 0.18%. Management fees in regulated products are not very high. But also, we also have, even if you have retail products, you look at a management fee of less than 2% per annum. But this, and if you look at it on a net basis, clients are still in double-digit returns. In terms of the risk, we are looking at investments only in regulated products, but we also have tentacles in other spaces such as private equity. We have partners we're now actually venturing as a different asset class into private businesses. So of course, what I just also need to tell Rotarian, I think, is it Robert, is that you can always reach us also privately. There's even free of charge information, a lot of free of charge information. Not everything has to be cash fast, we talk later. We can always, okay, I'm speaking now, Zach. Many people call me privately. We sit, we talk, we look at an investment. Sometimes it's just trying to pick a leaf from someone. So yes, we have standard charges for the majority of the products we have, but also there are also other partners we have that we can also refer you to, especially if you have an investment need which is very specialized, and we know there are people who can guide you. But there are always almost every industry in the financial sector has very clear payment plans and things like that. But there's also free information that you can get from us when you contact us. We actually also have advisory services where so many people walk in and ask for our opinions and things like that. Even the brokerage arm, when a client wants to buy shares, we are trained our staff to ask why. What is your profile? Do you know the risk? Do you know how illiquid this share is compared to another? You could have a share.
You can be summarizing now because we're
yes.
back to President. Yes.
Thank you, James. Thank you very much for that. There are so many. In short, with investments, this always happens. Time is never enough, but that's also a good thing because it means we can always meet in the wild out there. So back to you, moderator.
Yes, and if you go to the YouTube, thank you very much, Zach. When you go to the YouTube channel, you'll get the presentation there. The contacts for Zach are there, the email and telephone number. And I'm sure if you go to the UAP offices at Nakawa, you should be able to get him. Thank you very much, Zach. And back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Assistant Governor, Dr. James Onyuin, for guiding us through the Q&A session. Friends and comrades, I believe, like you and I, the learning has been great, and we continue to learn and benefit from professionals like Zach. Being a professional, with the Beganda say, Entasima Ibulajiwa, I want to invite another professional in the area of engineering, Engineer Jimmy Ogwal. Please kindly come and move a befitting vote of thanks to the professional Zach Kisesi for the wonderful insights that he has shared with us today about investments. Engineer Jimmy,
Mr. President, you can also ask Zach to stay back for the Chimeza if he can spare us some 20 minutes. Thank you.
I don't know whether, Zach, you have 5 or 10 minutes on your fingertips, because normally we stay put for the Kimeza after the closure of our fellowship to address some of the cares and concerns that colleagues on call could be still holding on to. I don't know whether you have 2 or 10 minutes with you, Zach.
I think by 8 o'clock I'll have to go, but so I have about 6 minutes. I'll quietly be part of the team for now.
Okay, no problem. I will then invite you, Engineer Jimmy Ogwal, kindly guide us to give a befitting vote of thanks. Jimmy, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I hope I'm audible.
Loud and clear.
Yes, Zach, we would like to say we really appreciate you waking up very early in the morning to be with us this morning. You have touched on a very important topic, a question that puzzles people each and every day. And that's the reason why we work. We work to invest so that we have a good life in future. And you have really touched on accumulating assets and why it should generate a cash flow. If not, dispose it or get an advisor. And we want to thank you for giving us an open window of even free consultations, because definitely after this presentation, you are going to receive a number of calls from Rotarians and guests who have been with us on attending this presentation this morning. And investment is what puzzles people. People have lost money here and there, and you have really opened our eyes this morning, and we can't appreciate you enough. And as day breakers, we have presented you with a certificate appreciating your being with us this morning. It is virtual now, but I think the president will, at an opportune time, deliver it to you, and you present it and you display it in a conspicuous place in your office to remind you of the day when you talk to the Rotarians and guests who have attended your presentation this morning. You have to believe that in future we shall call you back again, because this topic is important and we really want to know and get into these investments when we know a lot. We want to thank you. We can't thank you enough. But as the Rotarians, the breakers, and all the others who have been with us, the guests, directors, and everyone, we really do appreciate you allowing to be with us this morning and presenting to us this very important topic. We thank you, and we really invite you also to join us. Daybreak is open. You can come and join us, be a Rotarian, and the president will talk to you more about this. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Engineer Jimmy Ogwal, for moving a befitting vote of thanks. Zach, I can not only promise, but also guarantee that the chair of Audit Committee at UAP and myself will, at an appropriate time, hand over this certificate physically to you, and thereabout invite you officially to join Rotary. We pray that you continue learning a little more about Rotary in your day-to-day engagements. Friends, I want to say thank you very much, but in the interest of time, I welcome you, Stephen Wakasenza Wax, to kindly give us the statistics for today. Stephen Wax, over to you.
Thank you, President. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we had 172 participants, 43 Rotary clubs, 4 Rotaract clubs, 1 registered guest. And the statistics are as follows. For Rotary clubs, I'll go through them quickly. Rotary Club of Namasuva Ntinda, Bukoto, Weyogera Nambole, Kampala Alibad, Wewaja, Kampala South, Sunday Global, Garuga, Kansanga, E-Club Ntinda, Akesha Sunset, Bulindo, Maisha, Apakololo, Watule, Hoima Kitara, Makindye, Port Bell, Ruvaga, Lakeview, Nakasero, Kitante, Gulu, Sunrise, Kirinya, Bukasa, Bulova, Kabla Suke, Bugomba, Kampala East, Burenga, Ntinda Metro, Wobulenzi, Kampala Wandigea, Shadondo, Wakiso, Sonde, Kampala, Sese Island, Muyenga, Nalia Estates, Kololo, Kampala, Natete, Kira, Kiwenda, and Luvoa. For the Rotary clubs present, we had the Mlago School of Nursing and Midwifery, Deje City, Nakawa Moobs, and Wevaja. The registered guest on present was Mrs. Evelyn Ogwal. I struggled with the Rotary, the club of the day because the numbers were equal. We had Kampala East, we had Sunrise as usual, and Sunday. I submit.
Thank you very much, Sergeant. I would like to request that for the clubs that have not been mentioned or that could have been left out for one reason or the other, please accept and receive our sincere apologies for now, but you're welcome to register in the chat room and your attendance will be certainly recognized formally and officially. But in a special way, so easy as it is for you to just patch in those numbers in your gadget, in your phone, and the link to join us, so grateful we are for that gesture. We appreciate, we don't take this for granted. Thank you, friends, for always supporting this wonderful club. But in a special way, allow me recognize and appreciate our district leaders. Thank you very much for your leadership, but above all for your service to us and the rest of the humanity. Allow me appreciate past District Governor Rosette Nabumba for actually being with us this very morning. Thank you very, very much. And our friend, our beloved friend, District Governor-elect, Honorable Dr. Mike Kennedy Sebaru, thank you very much for always being with Daybreak. We don't take your love and your continuous and never-ending visits to this club for granted. We appreciate you. Lieutenant Governor Gerard Obai, thank you very much for being with us this morning. We greatly and sincerely and certainly appreciate you. I will say Owawax, DRRE, Sarah Owembabazi. Thank you very much for being with us. We recognize and appreciate, but more than that, allow us say congratulations once again to you, and we celebrate you. I want to appreciate the past assistant governors, the AGs, our area support officers. Thank you very much. To my dear comrades, the change maker presidents, it is always very overwhelming and warming to know that you are with me every Thursday morning. I pray God will give us the grace to return these numerous visits that you change maker presidents make to Daybreak. Thank you very much. Our dear friends from District 9214, led by none other than VCC and VCE, Sam Mwanje Jeje Mzungu, thank you very much. Friends, how I wish it would be possible for me to mention each and every single one of you, but unfortunately it's not possible. But in a special way, we dearly and sincerely appreciate each and every single one of you. With no much further ado, friends and colleagues, it is my pleasure now to invite you, my President Adrian Mutiaba, kindly give us the final toast.
Thank you, President Frederick. Let's get ready for the final toast. For those that have a cup of coffee or anything they can hold on to, we can do that now. Let's straighten our jackets for the wonderful fellowship we've had about the essence of investment. I give you Rotary International.
Rotary, the world
Rotary,
over.
The world over. Thank you very much, President Adrian. Colleagues and comrades, this marks the end of our official meeting this very Thursday, the last Thursday of this month of the Lord, but it marks the beginning of one of the most interesting bits we call Chimeza. I kindly officially open the Kimeza.